Alaska is one of the harshest places on Earth. Extremely low temperatures, permafrost, earthquakes. It's difficult to imagine how it was possible to build an 800-mile pipeline in this extremely isolated place with almost no roads and very rugged terrain. But somehow they did build it. Over 70,000 people worked on this project between 1969 and 1977, and the pipeline itself was constructed in just 2 years. The entire project cost over $40 billion when adjusted for inflation. It's a lot of money. Well, in this video, I'll talk about how the Trans-Alaska pipeline system was built and how it works. But first, let's talk about its history. The idea to build the pipeline arose in 1968, when the largest oil field in North America was discovered in Prudhoe Bay, in the far north of Alaska. At first, things moved very quickly. By 1969, the company building the pipeline had already applied for a permit to build the pipeline across the federal land, and the first pipe shipments had begun arriving from Japan. But later that year, environmental groups began filing lawsuits opposing the construction, and the project was delayed for nearly 5 years. And this legal battle would most likely have continued if it hadn't been for the 1973 oil crisis. In short, Arab oil-producing countries imposed an embargo on countries that supported Israel, which caused oil prices to quadruple. In response, President Nixon signed the Trans-Alaska Pipeline Authorization Act, greenlighting the project. And the construction began in 1974, and the first section of the pipe was laid in early 1975. 2 years later, the Trans-Alaska pipeline system was completed, and the first oil began flowing on June 20, 1977. Now let's talk about all the challenges engineers had to overcome to build it. The Trans-Alaska pipeline system, as the name suggests, runs through the entire state of Alaska, from the very north to the very south. It traverses 3 mountain ranges, 3 major earthquake faults, and crosses over 800 rivers. But really, the biggest challenge was probably permafrost, permanently frozen ground. The thing with permafrost is that you can just bury the pipeline underground like you would usually do. The oil that runs through the pipe is quite hot, reaching temperatures of up to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. It will simply melt the permafrost, making the ground unstable and potentially causing the pipe to rupture. To prevent this, the pipeline in areas with permafrost sits on supports above the ground. But then you have another problem with temperatures. The temperature swings throughout the year are pretty significant, which causes the steel pipeline to expand and contract. It changes its length by over 5 miles throughout the year. For this reason, the pipe is not attached to supports, it just sits on them. As for the areas without permafrost, the pipeline runs underground, as you would expect. Earthquakes are something that also needs to be considered. After all, Alaska experiences more earthquakes than any other state. For this reason, the pipeline runs in this zigzag pattern, which allows it to flex and move sideways, absorbing the seismic shocks. But even if the pipeline were to burst, major spills would most likely be avoided. The Trans-Alaska pipeline system is equipped with 178 valves located along the entire route, which allows sections of the pipeline to be isolated in the event of a leak. And while unfortunately some leaks did happen throughout its history, it's still considered very safe given its massive size. Now let's talk about how the pipeline works. The oil extracted from Prudhoe Bay is carried at the start of the pipeline at Pump Station 1, where it begins its journey. With the help of 11 pump stations placed along the route, it's pushed to the south, to the Valdez Marine Terminal. The oil travels at a speed of about 4 miles per hour, and it takes 2-3 weeks to reach Valdez. Once it gets there, it's pumped into storage tanks, and then into tankers that ship the oil around the world. At its peak, the Trans-Alaska pipeline system transported more than 2 million barrels of oil per day. Nowadays, it only transports a small fraction of that volume, about 500,000. Thank you for watching, see you in the next video.